Picture this. You're at a car wash and the detailer pulls out your vehicle. The dashboard gleams like obsidian. The trim looks factory fresh. Every surface reflects light with an almost liquid shine. You hand over a generous tip, drive home feeling like you just bought a new car. And 3 days later, the dashboard looks dustier than before and there's a faint, waxy residue creeping into the vents. This is not bad luck. This is chemistry working exactly as designed, just not in your favor. The product responsible in most cases is the one sitting in virtually every auto parts store on the planet. Armor All, the little black bottle with the silver logo, the product your father used and his father before him, the product that has dominated the car care aisle for over 6 decades while quietly accelerating the very degradation it claims to prevent. Armor All entered the market in 1962, and by any commercial measure, it has been an extraordinary success. It is stocked in Walmart, AutoZone, Costco, and virtually every gas station convenience store across the globe. It has name recognition that most car care brands can only dream of. And yet, if you spend 20 minutes on any automotive forum, Reddit's R Auto Detailing, Bob is the Oil Guy, any Facebook car group, you will find the same complaints cycling on an almost comic loop. My dashboard is sticky, and now it won't come clean. There's white residue in all the panel gaps. My interior looks worse than before I treated it. The shine lasted 4 days, and now it's dustier than ever. 6 decades of complaints, 6 decades of sticky steering wheels and chalky trim, and still, the product outsells nearly every competitor. This is not a mystery of chemistry, it is a masterclass in consumer psychology. Armor All sells a feeling, the immediate visual reward of a glossy, wet-looking interior. The brain interprets shine as cleanliness, as newness, as care. The product delivers that sensation within seconds of application, and the human reward circuit locks in immediately. The long-term damage, the brittle plastic, the accelerated cracking, the perpetual dust accumulation, unfolds slowly enough that most consumers never consciously connect it back to the product in the black bottle. By the time the dashboard is cracking, the bottle is long gone and the car is 3 years older. Armor All gets no blame. Time does. Before understanding what Armor All does wrong, it helps to understand what a dashboard actually is, because most car owners fundamentally misunderstand it. A modern automotive dashboard is not a single slab of plastic. It is a composite polymer system, typically constructed from ABS, acrylonitrile butadiene styrene, the rigid structural base layer PVC, polyvinyl chloride, or TPO, thermoplastic polyolefin, the flexible skin layer on soft touch surfaces, UV stabilizers and plasticizers, chemical compounds blended into the polymer that keep it flexible, prevent brittleness, and resist ultraviolet degradation. This last category is the critical one. Plasticizers, compounds like DINP, disononyl phthalate, or similar agents, are not coatings on the plastic. They are molecules suspended within the polymer matrix itself, moving between polymer chains and acting as internal lubricants that keep the material pliable. Think of them as the moisture locked inside living skin. As a car ages, heat cycles, UV exposure, and time cause these plasticizers to slowly migrate to the surface and evaporate, a process called plasticizer migration. This is natural. A well-maintained dashboard, protected from UV and occasionally treated with a product that replenishes surface moisture, can resist this process for decades. A dashboard treated with the wrong chemistry accelerates it catastrophically. The active ingredient in Armor All and most cheap interior dressings is dimethicone, a silicone-based polymer. It is commonly, and somewhat imprecisely, referred to in detailing communities as silicone, or listed on older formulations as dimethyl polysiloxane. It is also found in hair conditioners, lotions, and furniture polish. It is not inherently evil, but in the context of automotive plastics and rubber, it creates a sequence of problems that compound over time. Here is what actually happens at a molecular level when you spray Armor All on your dashboard. Step 1. Surface coating, not absorption. Dimethicone molecules are large and non-polar. They do not penetrate the polymer matrix of automotive plastics in any meaningful way. Instead, they sit on top of the surface, forming a thin, continuous film. This film is what creates the wet, glossy appearance immediately after application. Your brain sees shine and interprets protection. The chemistry tells a different story. Step 2, the seal effect. By forming a surface film, dimethicone effectively creates a semi-impermeable barrier over the plastic. This sounds protective, but it has an unintended consequence. It traps heat beneath the coating during the thermal cycles. A dashboard endures. Interior car temperatures in summer can exceed 80 to 176 degrees. This accelerates the very plasticizer migration described above, essentially cooking the plasticizers out of the polymer faster than normal aging would. Step 3. UV interaction and oxidation. Dimethicone itself is relatively UV stable, but it does not provide meaningful UV blocking for the plastic beneath it. More critically, the surface film can develop microfractures under repeated heat and UV exposure. As it degrades, it leaves behind a chalky, whitish residue, the white film and panel gaps that detailing forums describe constantly. This residue is oxidized silicone, and it is notoriously difficult to remove without alcohol-based cleaners. Step 4. Accelerated drying. Over repeated application cycles. Because Armor All users, by design, reapply frequently, the cumulative effect is a dashboard that has been repeatedly sealed, heat-stressed, and stripped of its natural plasticizer content. The plastic becomes progressively less flexible. Microcracks begin forming along stress lines. The surface loses its factory texture. Eventually, the material becomes brittle and begins to crack, the precise failure mode that a dashboard protectant is supposed to prevent. The tragedy is that this process unfolds over 2 to 4 years, slowly enough to be attributed to the car getting old, rather than the product applied every weekend. Perhaps the most insidious characteristic of silicon-based dressings is not the long-term polymer damage. It is the short-term dust attraction cycle that creates the illusion of ongoing need. Silicone films carry a mild electrostatic charge and have a tacky surface texture at the microscopic level. This makes them highly effective at attracting and holding airborne particulates, dust, pollen, skin cells, textile fibers from seat fabric. Within 72 to 96 hours of application in a typical driving environment, the glossy surface becomes visibly dusty, often more dusty than an untreated surface would be in the same period. The consumer's response is predictable and entirely rational given their incomplete information. They reach for the bottle again. This is not a coincidence of formulation. A product that attracted no dust, caused no residue, and genuinely nourished the plastic would need to be applied perhaps twice a year. A product that demands reapplication every 4 days generates roughly 15 times the purchase volume over the same period. Armor All's continued market dominance is, in part, a function of a product that manufactures its own demand, a feedback loop engineered into the chemistry itself, whether by design or by fortunate accident. The cycle is now complete, and it is worth naming it explicitly. Consumer applies product, immediate glossy reward, dopamine. Product attracts dust within days, surface looks neglected. Consumer feels their car needs attention, applies product again, dopamine. Repeat, while the underlying plastic degrades invisibly beneath the surface film armor. All is not selling dashboard protection, it is selling a maintenance ritual, the feeling of caring for something you love, delivered in a format that ensures you never stop needing it. Understanding this cycle is the first step toward breaking it. The second step is understanding what dashboard protection should actually look like chemically, and why the ingredients that genuinely work are less visually dramatic, slower to show results, and therefore almost impossible to market to a consumer standing in an auto parts store aisle making a 15-second purchasing decision. There is a particular kind of silence that falls over a professional detailing shop when an outsider asks the wrong question. Not an uncomfortable silence, a practiced one. The kind that comes from years of having a very good reason not to answer honestly. The question is simple. What exactly are you applying to that dashboard? The answer, in a significant number of cases, would bankrupt the mystique of an entire industry. Professional detailers who charge between $150 and $400 for a full interior detail have built their pricing on 3 pillars: labor, expertise, and the implied complexity of their chemistry. The labor is real, the expertise is genuine, but the chemistry, the actual compounds going onto your plastic, leather, and vinyl, is often so mundane that if clients knew the full story, they would laugh, then feel deeply, profoundly cheated. What many professional detailers use on dashboards, trim, and vinyl surfaces, after stripping back the branded containers and the professional-grade labels, frequently reduces to one of the most ancient and inexpensive petroleum derivatives known to cosmetic chemistry, mineral oil, or a mineral oil-based emulsion dressed up in packaging that suggests it was developed in a Swiss laboratory. Walk into any professional detailing supply company, Megger's Professional, Chemical Guys, 303, CarPro, and you will find interior conditioners priced between $18 and $65 for a half-liter bottle. The labels speak of advanced polymer conditioning complexes, UV molecular shield technology, and deep penetrating nourishment systems. The photography shows pristine interiors bathed in studio light. The branding communicates precision, science, and exclusivity. Now read the ingredient list. You will find variations of the same core compound appearing across product after product, regardless of price point. Mineral oil, listed variously as paraffinum liquidum, hydrogenated polyisobutene, or mineral oil, cosmetic grade. Water, an emulsifier, a preservative, and perhaps a UV absorber or fragrance. The exact same base ingredient found in Johnson's baby oil, which retails for approximately $2 to $3 for a 200 milliliter bottle, is the functional heart of products that charge 10 to 20 times that amount per equivalent volume. This is not fraud in any legal sense. The emulsion ratios, the UV additives, the manufacturing quality control, and the surfactant selection do represent some additional value, but the core mechanism of action. The reason these products work on automotive plastics is entirely attributable to the mineral oil fraction. The rest is largely marketing infrastructure. The detailing industry has built a remarkably effective business model on the consumer's intuitive assumption that price correlates with chemistry complexity. In this particular case, it does not. Coating versus conditioning. Understanding the fundamental difference. This distinction is the conceptual key that unlocks everything else in this conversation, and it is one that the automotive care industry has a strong financial incentive to keep blurred. Coating, what Armor All and silicone-based dressings do, operates entirely at the surface level. The product sits on top of the plastic and creates a visual effect, gloss, shine, that wet appearance, that photographs beautifully and photographs almost nothing else of value. The plastic beneath the coating is unchanged. Its flexibility is unchanged. Its moisture content is unchanged. Its resistance to UV degradation is unchanged. You have decorated the surface without treating the material. It is the cosmetic equivalent of applying foundation makeup over dry, dehydrated skin. The photograph looks great. The underlying condition is untouched and continues to deteriorate. Conditioning, what mineral oil-based products do, operates at the molecular level within the polymer matrix itself. A proper conditioner penetrates the surface of the plastic and interacts directly with the polymer chains, supplementing the plasticizers that heat and UV exposure have been slowly driving out of the material. The visual result is less dramatic, no high-gloss, wet look, but the material itself has been genuinely treated. Its flexibility is restored. Its resistance to cracking improves. Its ability to resist further plasticizer migration increases. This is the difference between treating a symptom and treating a condition. Coating gives you shine. Conditioning gives you plastic that will still be intact and flexible in 5 years. The reason the industry does not spend much time clarifying this distinction is straightforward. Conditioning products require less frequent reapplication than coating products. A properly conditioned dashboard may need treatment 2 to 3 times per year. A coated dashboard needs retreatment every few days. The purchase frequency math is not subtle. Mineral oil's effectiveness as a plastic conditioner is not accidental. It is a direct consequence of its molecular architecture. Mineral oil is a lightweight petroleum derivative, a refined mixture of saturated hydrocarbons, primarily in the C15 to C40 molecular weight range, cosmetic grade. Its key physical properties for this application are nonpolarity. Mineral oil is nonpolar, which means it is chemically compatible with the nonpolar polymer chains that make up ABS, PVC, and TPO plastics. Chemistry's foundational principle, like dissolves like, means mineral oil can interact with and penetrate these polymer matrices where polar, water-based products cannot. Viscosity and molecular size. Cosmetic-grade mineral oil has a viscosity low enough that, when properly emulsified and applied, its molecules can migrate into the microporous surface structure of automotive plastics. This is not deep, wholesale absorption. Plastics are not sponges. But it is genuine surface layer penetration that silicone molecules, being significantly larger and more chemically inert, cannot achieve. Plasticizer compatibility. Once inside the polymer surface layer, mineral oil compounds act as supplementary plasticizers. They occupy the molecular gaps left by evaporated original plasticizers and restore the material's flexibility. This is not a temporary cosmetic effect. The oil molecules, once absorbed, are held within the polymer matrix by the same van der Waals forces that hold the original plasticizers in place. Moisture retention. By filling the microporous structure of the plastic surface, the mineral oil layer also reduces the rate at which water vapor escapes from the polymer, effectively locking in residual moisture and slowing the desiccation process that leads to cracking. The result is material that has been biochemically, or rather petrochemically, nourished rather than merely decorated. Professional detailers are not villains. Most genuinely care about the quality of their work, take real pride in their results, and possess skills and knowledge that justify professional rates for the labor involved. The inconvenient truth is not that they are dishonest. It is that their business model depends on a specific form of consumer ignorance. Chemistry, unlike skilled labor, has no hourly rate. The insight that mineral oil penetrates automotive polymers and restores plasticizer content took researchers years to develop. But once that insight exists, it cannot be undemocratized. The knowledge costs nothing to transfer. And a $3 bottle of baby oil contains enough raw material to treat an entire car's interior 12 times over. This creates an existential problem for any business built on selling the chemistry rather than the labor. If clients understand the chemistry, they stop paying for it. The solution, across the industry, has been elegantly simple. Never let the conversation become about chemistry. Keep it about brands, about professional grade versus consumer grade, about the proprietary formulation that professionals use. Keep the black boxes closed, the ingredient lists in small print, and the marketing language sufficiently technical to feel authoritative without being educational. This is not a conspiracy. It is just rational business behavior in an information asymmetric market. The asymmetry exists because most consumers are not chemists, have no particular reason to read ingredient lists on car care products, and make purchasing decisions based on price, packaging, and brand familiarity. The detailing industry did not create consumer ignorance. It simply priced it. The perfect formula. Why oil alone is not enough. Here is where the practical conversation begins, and where most DIY attempts at this technique fail before they start. Raw baby oil, applied directly to a dashboard, will not deliver the results described above. It will streak, pool, and surface texture grain, take an unreasonably long time to absorb, and leave a greasy film that attracts dust nearly as effectively as silicone. The mistake is treating mineral oil like a topical product, when its mechanism of action requires it to be a penetrating treatment. The vehicle for that penetration is water. Specifically, a 70-30 water-to-oil emulsion. Here's the formulation. 70% distilled water. Tap water introduces mineral deposits that can leave residue on dark plastics. 30% baby oil, cosmetic-grade mineral oil, Johnson's or any equivalent unscented formula. Optional, 2 to 3 drops of dish soap as an emulsifier to stabilize the mixture. Combine in a small spray bottle and shake vigorously before each use. The water in this formulation is not filler. It is the delivery mechanism. Water has a much lower surface tension than oil and penetrates the microporous surface of automotive plastics faster. As the water carries the emulsified oil into the surface layer and then evaporates, it deposits the mineral oil molecules within the polymer matrix, rather than on top of it. This is the functional difference between a conditioning treatment and a surface coating. The water evaporates within 2 to 3 minutes. The oil stays, absorbed, not sitting on top. This is the most consequential error in the process, and the one that turns a beneficial treatment into an act of active harm. If you apply your mineral oil emulsion over a dashboard that still carries silicone residue from previous armor, all applications, dust accumulation, skin oils, or any other surface contamination, you will not be conditioning clean plastic. You will be sealing contaminants into the surface layer of the material. The oil penetrates. Whatever is on the surface when it penetrates comes with it. Oxidized silicone residue sealed into a polymer surface is dramatically more difficult to address than oxidized silicone sitting on top of one. The preparation step is non-negotiable. Surface preparation requires a 70% isopropyl alcohol solution. Mix isopropyl alcohol, available at any pharmacy for a negligible cost, with distilled water at a 70-30 ratio. Apply to a microfiber cloth. Never spray directly onto the dashboard, as it can reach electronics and instrument cluster seals. Wipe the entire surface in overlapping straight strokes. The cloth will come away darker than you expect, even on dashboards that appeared clean. That color is oxidized silicone, dust, and skin oils that have been sitting in the surface texture. Allow the surface to dry completely before proceeding, typically 3 to 5 minutes. Isopropyl alcohol evaporates cleanly and leaves no residue. You are now working with clean plastic. The treatment you apply will interact with the material, not with years of accumulated product residue. The instinct when applying any product to a surface is to apply enough that you can see coverage. With silicone dressings, this instinct is correct. The product works by coating the surface, so visible coverage means the job is done. With a mineral oil emulsion, this instinct is precisely backwards. The product works by being absorbed, not by sitting on the surface. Any emulsion that remains on the surface after absorption is complete, is excess product, and excess product creates problems. It dries to a white haze in surface texture grooves, attracts dust, and requires cleaning off, which partially defeats the purpose. The correct application volume is dramatically less than intuition suggests. Your microfiber cloth should feel barely damp, not wet. A 30 cm x 30 cm dashboard section requires no more product than a few light sprays onto the cloth. Critical rule: spray onto the cloth, never onto the panel. Spraying directly onto the dashboard concentrates product in low points of the surface texture, guarantees uneven absorption, and risks overspray reaching adjacent surfaces, glass or electronics. The cloth gives you control. The cloth is the applicator. Step 1. Clean the surface. Apply 70% isopropyl alcohol solution to a clean microfiber cloth. Wipe all plastic surfaces in straight, overlapping strokes. Allow to dry completely, 3 to 5 minutes. Step 2. Mix the emulsion shake, your 70 to 130 water to baby oil solution vigorously for 15 to 20 seconds. The mixture will appear milky white when properly emulsified. Step 3. Load the applicator spray 3 to 4 light sprays of emulsion onto a clean microfiber applicator cloth. The cloth should feel uniformly damp, not wet. If you can squeeze liquid from it, you have too much product. Step 4. Apply in straight lines. Work panel by panel. Apply the emulsion using straight, overlapping strokes, not circular motions. Circular application creates visible wipe lines in the surface texture of grainy plastics and makes it difficult to identify sections already covered. Straight lines give you a clear, systematic coverage map. Moderate pressure. You are applying, not scrubbing. Step 5. The waiting game. After treating each panel, wait 2 full minutes before assessing the result. During this period, the water fraction of the emulsion is evaporating and driving the oil into the polymer surface. What you see immediately after application, a slightly uneven, hazy, wet surface, is not the final result. After 2 minutes, take a dry microfiber cloth and lightly buff the surface with straight strokes. This removes any remaining surface excess and reveals the conditioning result. If you see white residue or streaking after buffing, you applied too much product. A light additional pass with the isopropyl cloth will remove it without undoing the conditioning treatment already absorbed. This is where expectations must be managed carefully, because the result of correct conditioning looks nothing like the result of a silicone coating, and consumers trained by decades of Armor All advertising are often confused by what good is actually supposed to look like. A silicone-coated dashboard looks wet and glossy. It reflects light off its surface with high intensity. It looks in photographs. It looks like it was just detailed 5 minutes ago. This appearance is the product of a surface coating that functions essentially as a low-grade plastic wrap over the material. A properly conditioned dashboard looks deep, dark, and richly toned. The surface absorbs rather than reflects light. The texture of the plastic becomes more visible, more three-dimensional, rather than smoothed over with a reflective film. The color darkens toward what it was when the car left the factory. It does not look detailed. It looks new, genuinely, materially new, in the way that only a material returned to its original state can look. The difference is the difference between putting a glossy filter over a photograph and restoring the original photograph itself. Experienced detailers call this quality depth, the appearance of light entering the surface material and returning from within it, rather than bouncing off the top of a coating. It is harder to achieve, harder to photograph, and harder to explain to a customer standing in a parking lot. But it is the result of a material that has actually been treated rather than temporarily disguised. The mineral oil emulsion works on your dashboard because automotive plastics are polymer composites that respond to petroleum-based plasticizers. The following materials share the same fundamental chemistry and respond to the same treatment. Vinyl door panels and seat bolsters, same polymer family as dashboard TPO and PVC. Mineral oil conditioning restores flexibility and prevents the characteristic cracking along flex points that vinyl develops as it ages. Leather seats. Leather is a collagen matrix, biologically different from synthetic polymers, but mechanically analogous in its relationship with oils. Mineral oil penetrates the collagen fiber network and supplements the natural lanolin oils that heat and UV exposure drive out over time. The result is leather that remains supple rather than hardening into the stiff, cracked state that characterizes neglected automotive leather. Rubber seals and trim, window seals, door gaskets, and rubber trim pieces suffer from the same plasticizer migration problem as hard plastics. Mineral oil conditioning keeps them flexible and dramatically extends the period before they begin to tear, shrink, and lose their sealing effectiveness. One formula, one bottle, one mechanism of action. Every polymer surface in your car's interior responds to the same chemistry. Armor All's functional lifespan on a dashboard. The period before the surface becomes visibly dusty and the gloss degrades is 72 to 96 hours in normal driving conditions. This is partly because the silicone film degrades under heat and UV, and partly because, as described in Part 1, the electrostatic charge of the silicone surface actively attracts particulates. Mineral oil conditioning lasts 3 to 6 months under equivalent conditions. The reason is structural. A silicone coating exists only at the surface. It is exposed to everything the environment throws at it, and has no reservoir within the material to replenish itself. When it degrades, it is simply gone and must be reapplied. Mineral oil that has been absorbed into the polymer matrix is protected by the polymer itself. UV rays and surface heat affect the outermost molecular layers of the plastic, but the absorbed oil molecules in the layers beneath continue functioning as plasticizers. The treatment does not wear off the way a surface coating does. It gradually depletes from the surface inward, over months rather than days. Moreover, each conditioning application builds on the previous one. The first application treats a polymer surface that has been depleted of plasticizers over years. Subsequent applications maintain a surface that is no longer depleted. Over time, the interval between necessary treatments actually increases as the material returns to and maintains its optimal plasticizer content. This is the opposite of the Armor All cycle. The more you use it correctly, the less you need it. The final verdict: how a $3 bottle defeats both a $12 product and a $300 detailer. Let us be precise about what is being claimed here because precision matters. A $3 bottle of baby oil, combined with $1 worth of isopropyl alcohol and distilled water, dispensed from a $2 spray bottle, outperforms Armor All on every meaningful metric. Metric Armor All, $12. Mineral oil. Emulsion, $3 total. Cost per application, 0.80 under SIRS. 8. Functional duration, 3 to 4 days, 3 to 6 months. Dust attraction, high, electrostatic. Minimal polymer penetration. Non-genuine surface absorption. UV protection. Surface only. None, add UV spray separately. Long-term material health. Degrades over time. Improves over time. Residue risk, white film and gaps. Minimal if applied correctly. Against a $300 professional detail, the chemistry is identical. The professional brings expertise in application, a trained eye for problem areas, and the labor to do the job thoroughly and correctly. If you can follow the steps above, you are applying the same active compounds to your plastic that a professional would apply. Because the professional, if they are being honest about it, is largely applying the same active compound you just bought at the pharmacy. What you pay a professional for, legitimately, is skill and time. What you pay Armor All for, less legitimately, is the comfortable illusion that dashboard care requires chemistry complex enough to justify $12 for 4 days of dusty shine. The automotive care industry, like the hair care industry, the skin care industry, and the supplement industry before, it has built its commercial architecture on a single foundational consumer behavior: the willingness to pay for complexity that isn't there. The insight that should travel with you from this piece is not that mineral oil is magic, or that all branded products are scams, or that professional detailers are frauds. The insight is more useful and more durable than any of those simplifications. Read the ingredient list, understand the mechanism, buy the mechanism, not the label. When you know that the functional ingredient in a $45 interior conditioner is mineral oil, you are empowered to make a real choice: buy the $45 version for its UV additives and quality emulsification, or buy the $3 version knowing exactly what you are and are not getting. Both choices can be rational, but only one of them is informed. The industry does not want you making informed choices. Informed choices compress margins and democratize expertise. Informed choices mean you spend $3 instead of $12, or you spend $300 on a detailer's labor without paying a $200 chemistry premium for a compound you could have bought at Boots or CVS. Your car's dashboard does not know the difference between a product that costs $3 and one that costs $45. It responds to chemistry, not marketing. Polymer chains do not read labels. The question is whether you will.